The 30 Years' War started in 1618 and went on until, obviously, 1648. Now, before the war, there was this Protestant Reformation when this guy, Martin Luther, a German priest, founded Protestantism as a split from the Catholic Church. As time went on, Protestantism spread throughout the majority of Europe, leading to numerous conflicts and wars between Protestants and Catholics, hence the religious wars. But the Treaty of Augsburg in 1555 stated that whoever reigns would choose the empire's official religion. But when you have a majority of Protestants and a ruler who's Catholic, well, things can go pretty bad. When Ferdinand II became the Holy Roman Emperor, he revoked this letter of majesty, which granted religious toleration to both Protestants and Catholics. With that gone and Catholicism as the empire's official religion, Protestants felt threatened. To voice their anger, the Protestants of Bohemia sent two of Ferdinand's ministers straight out of a window 2 floors up into a pile of poop, also known as the Defenestration of Prague. With the Protestants revolting and growing stronger, Ferdinand turned to his nephew Philip IV of Spain for help. With Spain in the game, the Protestant Revolution was starting to be shut down when Protestant Denmark intervened and helped the revolutionaries. With the help of England and Scotland, Protestant forces went into France, but left as soon as they arrived, since the Roman forces were actually able to whoop their butts under the command of Albert von Wallenstein, a hired mercenary. The important thing about this is that Wallenstein wasn't actually a Catholic, nor was he a noble of the sword, which is a group that Hannah talks about, but he was actually born into a poor Protestant noble family, so fighting for the Catholics was actually going against his background. But much like the cadets of Gascon in the play, who were loyal to mainly the king, mercenaries were mainly loyal to money. Now, as the Protestantisms were retreating, King Gustavus of Sweden decided to aid them. And what's more interesting is that Catholic France helped Sweden, a Protestant nation, by funding their military. All this proves a turning point in the war when this war of religion became a war of wealth for fighters and politics for governments. France saw that their enemy, the Habsburg dynasty, was expanding, so even if they were both Catholic with high-ranking Catholic officials such as Cardinal Richelieu in power, France wanted to reduce the Habsburgs' powers. This marked the beginning of the longest, bloodiest, most defining part of the war, as both sides were drained with chronic shortages in arms, men, and food. As the war went on in France, life became mostly dedicated to the war. Young men were sent off as cadets to fight in the war, as shown in the play, and most were sent to the battlefront. And the exhaustion of resources is evident in the play in the Siege of Arras Act, when the cadets were starving to the point that where they gnawed on their quote-unquote gun wads and axle grease from their guns and could barely even hold off the Spaniards. As they protested about the miserable conditions, saying that they have no stomach for this war and that they may as well die, they almost mutinied against their own commander, Carbon, had Cyrano not stopped them. But even Carbon complains, what a war when the besieger starves to death, which really conveys the terrible conditions. And even though the cadets managed to fight the Spanish during the siege, the rest of the war was a different story. Both sides eventually tired out, and the Peace of Westphalia was hammered out between both France and the Habsburgs.